Hi everyone, welcome to PlanFirst, the financial modeling platform for entrepreneurs and students. In order to log into PlanFirst, go to Google, search for PlanFirst.in, open the website, and get started. You can either sign up yourself by clicking on this link and enter the details, or you can use the Google sign-in. I'll click on the Google sign-in, which is so easy. It'll ask you to choose the account. And here we are in. The application asks you to create a company to start with. So if you either have a company, you can put in details of that company, or if you are thinking of an idea, you can put in details of that hypothetical company that you have in mind. I'll start with the test company. If you have a logo, company's logo, you can upload it here, or else you can choose a dummy logo here. I'll choose a dummy logo and continue. Most likely your startup is in the very early stage. Click on early stage startup. How big is your company? The number of people. Most likely you are in the first bracket, 1 to 10. Continue. If you have a website, you can enter the link here. If you do not have one, just skip it. At the end, it asks you for a category. What sector are you working under? The dropdown lists a lot of sectors here. You can choose the one that you are into. Let's say automotive. There is a description, which is also a subcategory. You can look at some of these. If you don't find the one relevant to you, you can select others. Let's create the company. Well done. So you are done with creating the company. On the left side, you can see a tab, a section for the company. You can see the company name here. You can go edit the company here. You can also go and create a plan here, or you can create a plan here. So we are into creating business plans, and that is actually the next step. So in order to create a new business plan, click on Add New Plan. Again, it asks you for a name for your plan. Let's name it Sports Bike. It will ask you to create a new plan. There are a couple of templates available. Most likely, it is not applicable for you at the moment. Let's create a new plan. When are you planning to start the business? It by default shows the current month and current year. If you are planning to start the business, let's say in April next year, 2025, you can choose the month and year accordingly. This time, let me select January 2025 to start the business. Continue. Select the financial year starting month. So in India, the financial year starts in April and it is selected by default. Continue. What is the currency? Are you going to prepare the financial plan in Indian rupees, or if it is some other currency, you can select it from here. Let's continue with Indian rupees. And at the end, what is the purpose of the plan? Are you looking for an equity investment? Is it for a loan application? Or is it just to evaluate your idea? Let's go ahead with evaluating the idea now. Continue. How many years do you want to drill down month-wise? Basically, when you create a financial plan, you may want to deep dive into the monthly details for at least a couple of years. It could be 1 year, 3 year, or 5 years. Understand that 5 years means 5 into 12, 60 months. You will have to enter details for 60 months. Let's go with 1 year, which means you are entering data for 12 months or somewhere closer to that. Continue, and this is the last step. What are the reports needed once you create this plan? We are looking at financial plan only right now. Let's go ahead with that. And congrats, you have created a business plan. Basically, you have started with a business plan. The next step is to configure the plan. And the button is right in front of you. Let's click on Configure Plan. Once you click on configure plan, you are given with a set of sections from where you have to enter data, starting with products and services, raw materials, unit specifications, customers, capital expenses, operational expenses, marketing expenses, HR, pricing, and a few financial parameters. The first question is about product and services. So what are your offerings? Please list down your company's products and services by clicking on this button to add a new item. Similarly, do you have raw materials for your business? Is it a manufacturing business? Probably you have. Is it a service business or an IT or a software business? Maybe you don't have. So if you do not have raw materials for your business, you can click this button, which is not applicable. But if you have raw materials, you can click on this add new item and add raw materials for your business. Let's go to unit specs. Again, this is applicable only if you have raw materials. We'll come to this in detail a little later. Customers. Customers. And all the other sections can be added manually. And we'll show this with another example. To get a better feeling of how it looks with a lot of data inside, let's use another ID for login. So under this ID, you can see that there are a lot of plans already created. These are all test plans. We'll look at one particular plan here, which is toy manufacturer. So the plan is already created. You can see some graphs here, some progress here, some data here. Let's click on configure again here. And you can see the same set of menu. The first one is the products and services. And what they are building here is a remote control car. There is a description and the unit item in the measuring unit is unit item. You are making or selling it in unit items. What are the other measuring units? For example, you may be selling your product in a pack, in a box, in kilograms, in tons, in liters. There are many other measuring units here. Choose the right one that fits your business. Next, this is a manufacturing or a production business, and they have a lot of raw materials here. All these raw materials are listed here, and whether it is a unit item or whatever measuring unit it has. Opening stock is the number of quantity of this raw material that you have when you start your business. Most likely it will be 0 for you. You can enter 0 when you enter the data. Rate per unit is the cost of purchasing this raw material for its unit quantity for just one item. Next, we have the unit specifications. If you see, you can see product quantity, raw material, and raw material quantity here. This particular line item means that in order to make one remote control car, one product quantity, which is one remote control car, we need one plastic fiber or body or chassis. Similarly, the same car needs one motor controller. The car needs one front and rear brushless motor. Similarly, this is a mapping of the raw materials required for making a unit product. Next is the list of customers. Who are you selling the remote control cars to? Our customers are kids and teenagers of the age group 10 to 20. And we are selling it to a part of the country. What are the other options? You may be selling it in a district. part of a state, a whole state, part of a country, whole country, foreign and domestic, whatever that is, you can choose. Next, what are the capital expenses that you can incur in your business? Capital expenses are those expenses which has a lifespan typically more than 1 year. For example, you buy a computer. It typically lasts you more than 1 year. Consider buying, let's say, oil, let's say engine oil. It is consumed within some time. So the laptop or the computer is a capital expense, while the oil that you purchase is not a capital expense, it is an operational expense. Find out your capital expenses and enter it here. Other types of operational expenses are your electricity bills, water bills, any rental that you pay, any repair and maintenance expense, transportation expenses, and so on. You can find a list of such expenses listed here. If you want to add a new expense, you can do it here as well. Go next. This is where you list down all your marketing expenses. Think how you want to market your product or solution to customers. There are a list of options given here already. You may want to develop a website. You may want to spend some money on packaging design. You may want to pay some fees for marketing consultants. Maybe some LinkedIn advertisement or YouTube advertisement as well. If you are paying, if you want to spend that monthly or quarterly, mention that amount here. Next, think about all the people that you need to start your business with. In this particular case, we have listed down accountant, design engineer, production engineer, and so on with their monthly salary as well. When you begin the business, how many people do you need? Let's list that as well. It can even be 0. Maybe you want to have this person sometime later in your business. Let's list them all down here. And also understand if it is a core business role or a supporting role. For example, if you are into software development business, a software developer is a core business member, whereas an administrator or a salesperson may be classified under a supporting role. Next, let's get into the pricing. At what price are you planning to sell your remote control car? You can select the product and also the customer, and you can sell a product for a particular customer for a particular price. Let's enter those details here and go next to the last item under fundamentals, which is some of the financial parameters. Here we are asking if you are going to sell your product on credit to your customers. Similarly, are you going to purchase your raw materials from your vendors on credit? If so, what are the terms? Let's answer these questions with numbers like this. Yes, you're done with the first session. Congrats. Let's move on to the next. Now we are into monthly details. These are the 7 sections that we will look into on a monthly detail. Sales, raw materials, capital expense, operational expense, marketing expense, HR, and funding. In sales, it is asking, let's review the number of sales possible in these months. And by default, it is starting with a particular month based on your selection of starting your business. Here it is already listed the target sales group, which is remote control car for kids and teenagers, and the rate which you had entered in the fundamental section, and the plan for your sales. Initially, it will be all 0. You can click on this button to edit it. You can enter whatever number that you want to put. Let me change this to 150. Clicking outside the box, it will ask you whether you want the same number to be copied all over the remaining months. If you say OK, it will get copied. I say cancel. Close it. So once I come back, I can see the update here. Let me go back to the next section, raw materials. Again, in this case, there are many raw materials and you may have a lot of data to enter. But if you have very few items, it will be very easy to edit as well. Again, let's make use of this. I'll change 200 to 150. And in this case, let me say OK. So all have become 150 and I close it. You can see that these numbers have changed to 150. Continue to next section, capital expense. Now see if all of these expenses are incurring in the first month, or do you want to split it across various months? For example, this particular machinery, which is costing me 20K, I want to move it to, say, December. All right, I moved it to December. Make changes according to your business model. Moving on to operational expense. By default, whatever number that you entered will be copied across all the months because operational expense typically are repeated every month. But if you would like to make any changes, like let's say power bills are being paid only on a quarterly basis, you can make changes accordingly. Next, under marketing expense, again, you can plan your marketing accordingly based on the aggressiveness with which you want to go to market and also the revenue that you would like to generate. Moving on to HR, and this is a very important area where you look at your hiring plan. By default, whatever number that you entered in the beginning is copied across all the months. But if you want to increase the hiring, for example, let's say the production engineer here, let's say you want to increase the number to 2 from March 23 onwards. Click on edit, go to March 23, change this number to 2. And if you want to continue, ensure that you add it in the remaining months as well. Which means that from March 23, you have 2 people working for you. And before March 23, you had 1 person working for you as a production manager. You can see the changes here. Next, what kind of a funding and in which month would you want to get those funding so that you can run your business well? Maybe you don't know this in the beginning. You can always come back and edit this later, depending on your fund requirements that you analyze later on. Let's come back here later. So that's the end of the second section. And now we are ready to review the revenue and expense summary. So far, you have been entering data on a monthly level, but you can see the annual summary here in this page. Revenue summary, raw materials summary, expenses summary, capital expense summary, operational expenses summary, marketing expenses, HR expenses, fund inflow, and fund outflow as well in case you are repaying loans or repaying promoter loans. We can use this area as well. Let's forget this for the time being and go to the next. Before that, since you have selected 1 year, 22, 23, and 23, 24, these 2 columns are masked because the data is already calculated by the system. But the next 3 years are not masked, which means you can edit it based on your aggressiveness in the business. You can also see that by default, a factor of 1.2 is applied across years, which shows 20% growth year on year. Now let's move on to the next. This is where the system automatically creates a profit and loss account based on the data that you have entered. For this particular plan, you can see the revenue generated, other revenue, like this is the grant that this business got, that is what the other revenue is. Direct labor, material cost, cost of goods sold, operational expenses, HR expense, marketing, total operational expense is calculated, EBITDA, depreciation is calculated based on the machinery and other capital expense that you have, EBIT, interest, if you have any, profit before tax, tax is applied at 30%, and a profit after tax. And you can see that this particular business model has a positive PAT. Clicking next, you can see the business, balance sheet, which is automatically created. You can take a look at the numbers and see if there are any negative numbers, which might be a warning sign. Let's go next and look at the cash flow. This is your cash flow statement for the year. And you can also see it monthly. Let's look at yearly for now. If you want to explore monthly, you can always. Here you can see that total cash flows is negative, and the opening cash balance for this business was only 1,000 rupees, and the closing cash balance is negative 6.62 lakhs, which means you do not have enough money to run your business, which means you need some capital, either a loan or some share capital or some other method of funding your business. This is where you go back to monthly details and funding. This is where you need to add whatever funds that you want to get in order to run your business. Let's assume in place of ₹1 long-term loans, we get a good amount of loan. Let's make it 10 lakhs. I have 10 lakh rupees of long-term loan here. Go on, continue. You can even review it in the fund inflow. You can see long-term loan of 10 lakhs here. Next. Next. Go next and look at the cash flow statement. Now you can see that the cash flow, the closing cash balance is positive, which is good, which means you have taken 10 lakh rupees as long-term loan in order to run this business, without which you will not be able to run this business. You can also see some insights by clicking next, going to the insights section. There are a few graphs created automatically for you. This will help you identify the costs and the revenues that you are making, and if it also makes sense to run this kind of a business. Mouse over these graphs here, it will tell you what it is and the number is. Explore this, and on these line graphs, put your mouse at this corner, you will find the numbers. Explore these graphs and understand it well, and modify these your fundamentals and monthly details so that you get good insights, good graphs, and also which means that you have a good business as well, which makes a lot of sense. At any time, if you would like to come back to the dashboard, click on this logo here, PlanFirst, and you're back to the page where you have started configuring your plan with. Click on more. You have a few more things here. You can edit the plan. You can clone the plan. You can look at some reports, some documents, and you can also set as template. Another important feature to look at is sharing this plan with other people. You can click on this invite button and it opens up a window where you can put email ID. You choose the person either as an investor, a mentor, or a collaborator. Depending on what you choose, their access will also be different. And for how long do you want to give this permission to this person? 1 day, 30 days, custom. Let's select 1 day. And click on invite. An email will be sent to this person with this email ID, and they can log into PlanFirst and see the plan that you have already created and start collaborating with it. Thank you so much.